We're going to look a bit psychotic.
Can you read the camera?
I don't hope I'm not. That's the reason why it's hanging around me, I hope.
Okay, we're live now.
Welcome everyone to today's meeting. I declare our meeting open at 2 o'clock. I'd like to ask Councillor McQueenie to give us a welcome to country.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. The Glamorgan's Big Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region, the Palawa people, and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and cultures. We pay respects to their elders, past and present.
Thank you, Councillor McQueenie. I'd like to welcome the councillors here today. We've got Councillor Neil Edwards, Councillor Kenneth Gregson, Councillor Carol McQueenie, Councillor Robert Churchill, Councillor Robert Young and Councillor Jenny Woods. Thank you for all being here and welcome to anyone that's watching our meeting on our YouTube channel. We have a request for a leave of absence and that is in accordance with Regulation 39 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015. The chairperson hereby requests leave of absence for Mayor Cheryl Arnold for this meeting of council for personal reasons. There is a recommendation below. Thank you, Councillor Woods.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will move that council grant Mayor Cheryl Arnold leave of absence for the meeting of council held on Tuesday, 22nd of October 24.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Councillor. Any questions or comments? If that's, I'll put no further questions or comments. I'll put the motion forward and all those in favour, please raise. Thank you. That's unanimous. 1.3 on our agenda is in attendance today. We have our Acting General Manager, Mr. Peter Porch, who is also the Director of Works and Infrastructure. We've got Alex Woodward, who is our Director of Planning and Development. We've got Elise Blaine, who is our Director of Corporate and Community. We've got our ever reliable Executive Officer, Miss Jasmine Kerr, who is looking after minutes and all things associated with that. So thank you for all being here. At this date, 1.4, I don't believe we have any late reports. No late reports. 1.5 in the agenda relates to declarations of interests or conflicts. So at this point in time, I would ask elected members to indicate whether they have, one, an interest personally or via a close associate as defined in Section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or two, any conflict as described in the Model Code of Conduct for councillors in any item included in this agenda. Thank you. There's no conflict of interest declared. The next section of our agenda is confirmations of minutes from the ordinary meeting of the 24th of September 2024. There is a recommendation underneath. If someone would move that. Thank you, Councillor Woods.
Yes, I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 24th of September 24 at 2 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor McQueen. Any comments, questions, observations? No, if there's no questions, I'll move for councillors to indicate if they agree with the minutes. Yeah, it's unanimous. Sorry. 2.2 is date and purpose of workshops held. There was a workshop held on Tuesday the 8th of October 2024. There is a recommendation on page 7 if someone would like to move that. Councillor Edwards.
I move that council notes the information.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Councillor McQueen. Comments or questions? No, if there's no further comments or questions, I'll move the motion. No those in favour. Thank you. It's unanimous. Section 3 is our public question time. I don't believe there's any questions. No questions. 3.1, no questions on notice. No questions on notice and no questions without notice. Thank you. Section 4 is our planning authority section, and there are nil reports. For those people perhaps that are watching on the YouTube channel, that doesn't mean Mr Woodward's department did nothing for the month. What it means is that there were no planning decisions that needed to be ratified by the whole of council. So his department would have still been very busy. Thank you, Chief. Section 5 in our agenda is the financial reports. 5.1 is the financial reports for September 24. They're prepared by a Director of Corporate and Community, Miss Elise Blaine. There is a recommendation on page 11. Someone would like to move that? Councillor Churchill.
I move that council receives and notes the financial reports as attached to this report for the period ended September 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councillor Grayson. Has anyone got any questions, comments? None? Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Section 6 of our agenda is section 24 committees, and there are nil reports. So we can move on to section 7, which are information reports prepared by our Director of Works and Infrastructure. There is a recommendation on page 18. If someone would like to move the recommendation. Councillor Young.
I move that council note the information.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Are there any questions, comments, observations?
Yes, through the Mayor. Yes, I
Thank
do.
you. Councillor.
I guess I must admit that the locations has improved remarkably, but on page 13, Naylor Avenue, Gamble and Harvey Crescents, whereabouts is that located, please?
I can answer that for you, Councillor Gregson. They're all in Bishop.
Right. Would that be confirmed in the minutes?
We can do that in a minute, I
We
suspect.
can confirm
Thank you.
Mhm.
And also, 49 Revan Road, is that located in the Shelley Beach area? 49 Revan Road?
49, yes it is.
Yes. Because Revan Road's quite a long road, so to give the people reading the minutes and or people viewing just an idea where it is. And Ferndale Road, whereabouts is that, please?
Through you, Mr Chair, Ferndale Road is the top end of Bishop, so on the northern end of Bishop.
Right, thank you. Thank you. And the last one is 17 Acre Creek Bridge.
Through you, Mr Chair, 7 Acre Creek Bridge is on Wylington Road, before you get to the turn off to Matthew.
Right, thank you. Right, excellent. Could those also be noted in the minutes as well, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gregson. I have a question from Councillor Edwards and then from Councillor Churchill.
I was just wondering through you, Acting Mayor, the mulching of the green waste, where are we up to with the purchase of the green waste mulcher, or is that with our green waste mulcher?
I'll ask our General Manager to comment on that.
Through you, Mr Chair, it's in a grant process, so while the grant's been approved, the grant funds have to be received, we'll need to receive those, then we can proceed with purchase. So at this stage, it's yet to be purchased.
So it's still a contractor going to be doing this work?
That's correct.
That's a pity. And the next one was in Capital Works. I was just wondering, what happened to the Blue with a View?
Through you, Mr Chair, design still with the, for footings.
It's still in the
That's correct.
process. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Churchill.
Yes, if I could ask the acting general manager, the helipad at Swansea, how far in progress is that? Have we got that started?
Through you, Mr Chair, a difficult process, and it is unlikely that the project will be completed. We haven't expended any money on construction. A little of the money's been expended on initial design investigations, and the project was thwarted by complaints relating to the site, the creek, which had been investigated by NRE. That investigation took some time. We heard back in early this month from NRE that the council had nothing to answer in respect to the allegations that were raised for disturbances to the creek line, etc. However, to get it up and to complete the work before the funding window runs out is not going to be possible.
Disappointing outcome, if I may say, disappointing outcome for the whole area that Swansea could have probably benefited very much so from that. It had gone ahead. It's very unfortunate news. Thank you.
Councillor McQueenie.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Through you to Acting General Manager. The Wailanka Road resheeting that's planned for this month. I appreciate that we have no control over what Sorrells Council will do, but is there any coordination or any line of sight of whether the other ends of the road that we're not responsible for will happen around the same time?
Mr. Chair, there is no coordination of such activities. There's no programs as such that we're aware of for owners in the middle sections.
Yeah.
We could probably speak to Sorrel about whether their end, but I think their end may have been sealed. I'm not sure the section that they own because they don't own a lot of it.
Right.
So between whether it's Sustainable Timbers Tasmania, Forestry, whoever is the owner of those sections in the middle parks, potentially Crown Land Services, there's no known maintenance program that's delivering regular results to it.
Just be good ahead of tourism season if they did do it, but I appreciate it's not our. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Gregson.
Through the Mayor, and I'd like to direct my question to the Acting General Manager. Pursuant to Councillor Churchill's question, where was the proposed location of the helipad at Swansea? Will the window of funding closure eliminate that helipad location, or is there an alternative site for that, and will funding be provided for the Swansea area?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The location is at the rear of the SES facility, so the joint emergency services facility is where the proposed location was. It's a very deep block, extends fairly well back, and it is used for helicopter staging as is, but it's there's a fire risk and a few other things there as they land on the grass. Inquiries were made about a location across the road with the landowner who, for that one, wasn't prepared to extend an offer of use for where would be the most desirable and least likely to flood itself. And the area that he was prepared to offer, which was very generous of him, but was not in a location that was ideal for facility. Once the funding closes for this particular fund, that's gone. Whether council, in consultation with community, is interested in pursuing a second line of funding to achieve that outcome will be seen.
Just through the Mayor and General Manager, just to clarify that the helipad was going to be used for SES and emergencies and not for the hospital. The hospital still maintains its helicopter location opposite the Mayfield.
Mr. Chair, that would be a matter for ambulance. Ambulance were very interested in having the facility there. They supported the location proposed behind the SES building. There are, whilst it happens in a lot of places, helicopters do occasionally fall out of the sky. Not very often, they do fall out of the sky. To have it over the facilities where it is probably not the best location for it in a public open space like that, which is less controllable. So the ambulance facility is based at the shared services location, so it would have been, so the ambulance would have been right there at the location. Certainly there is interest from sectors of the community in retaining the ambulance location where it does land presently. And they're things that the council will need to consider in seeking any future alternative funding for it.
And the present location is
Present location isn't changed.
it's still at the SES line, is it? Or is it just opposite Mayshore?
Opposite Mayshore is where they're currently landing for their for transporting people to the hospital. The fire services are probably the key interest in using the location at behind the SES building. But as I say, it was also supported by the Internet service.
Councillor Young.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the General Manager. I didn't quite hear the question from Councillor McQueenie and not fully the answer. Am I correct in assuming that in more or less the centre of the Wailanka Road towards the Sorell boundary, that it's owned by entities other than Glamorgan Spring Bay Council?
Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct. So we own, so there's the Sandspit conservation area, a little picnic area, probably a kilometre or so south of that is where the boundary is. We should still have a sign there that indicates where our boundary is.
Do we have difficulty in getting contribution from the landowner towards road construction of the bit that we do not own?
Mr. Chair, no, we don't, because we own to the boundary. So
we
do
do
not
get
share
contribution from the owner of the land within our municipality. Thank you.
No.
Oh, I thought we did.
No, because there is no, I suppose I answered that a little awkwardly. There is no section of the road within our municipality that is not within our control and management. So the section, from our boundary sign
We don't own.
onwards to the south, we don't own. And we
It's
don't
up to
own.
Sorell or someone else.
That's good.
Thank you. The reason I asked, there are a number of complaints about the state of the road, people taking shortcuts on blind bends to avoid potholes. But if it's not within our municipality, it's not much we can do about it, even if we had the funds. Is that correct?
Just as a matter of clarification through you, Deputy Mayor, I travel that road a bit, and in fairness to Glamorgan Spring Bay, their bit is kept up by far the best. The next bit is Forrico and Parks, and the next section then Sorell. Forrico do it when they're
I
logging.
didn't hear that.
Forrico, Parks and Sorell.
Forrico.
The forestry.
What is it?
Private forestry.
Yeah, so they are
So
on the
it's a
section.
proprietary or company of some
I
sort.
don't know, it's Forrico. Yeah, they do the logging and own the forests. So they maintain theirs as they see fit. But it all goes a bit dodgy when you get to Sorell's part, generally. The Morgan Spring Bays, having travelled that road a lot, keep it by far the best. In fairness to them.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Thank you.
Councillor Gregson.
Just through the mayor, I'd just like to clarify, Forrico basically purchased a lot of.
I can't hear the question.
I'm just clarifying.
I can't hear the question.
The question, I haven't said it yet. Just through the mayor, I'd just like to qualify Forrico for Councillor Young's benefit. Forrico basically bought a majority of Guns stands of timber, and hence they formed this company.
Thanks, Councillor Gregson. We're probably getting a little off track
Yes, sir.
there. That's information that's relevant to us. Is there any further comments or questions? Okay, if that's the case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour of accepting? Thank you. That's a unanimous acceptance. Section 8 is officers' reports requiring a decision. 8.1, proposed council office closure, 2024 Christmas and New Year holiday period, prepared by our Executive Officer, Ms Kerr. There is a recommendation on page 20, I believe. Actually, yes. Would someone like to move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Wood.
Thank you. I'll move that council endorses the closure of the Tribunal Council offices from 12 p.m. on Thursday, 19th of December 2024 to reopen at 9 a.m. on Friday, 20th of December 2024 and from 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, 24th of December 2024 to reopen on Tuesday, 2nd of January 2025 at 9 a.m.
I have a seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Gregson. Would anyone like to question or make comment? Councillor McQueen.
Yeah, thanks, Acting Mayor. Just for the community's benefit, really, I'd just like to note that we've been advised that because of the interest in servicing during that period between Christmas and New Year, that the improved arrangements of last year about servicing toilets and whatever will be continued for this year. Coming, so good news.
Thank you. If there's no further comment, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, it's unanimous. 8.2 on our agenda is proposed schedule for the 2025 ordinary meetings of council. There is a recommendation on page 23, if someone would like to move. Councillor Woods.
Thank you. I'll move that council by absolute majority adopts the following schedule of dates for the 2025 ordinary meeting of council, and 2, that the 2025 annual general meeting for Morgan Spring Bay Council be held on Tuesday, 9th of December 2025, commencing at 5:30, and 3, that special meetings of council can be held at any time.
Thank you.
I don't really need to go through the dates.
No, I don't believe so. We're there for everyone to see. Would someone like to second that? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any questions or comments? No, thank you. If there's no further questions or comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. That's a unanimous decision. 8.3 on our agenda is review of delegation register as prepared by our Executive Officer and our Acting General Manager. There is a recommendation on page 25. Someone would like to move. Councillor Gregson.
I move that the council endorses the revised delegations register as attached to this report item.
Thank you. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Churchill. Thank you. Any questions or comments? No, if there's no questions or comments, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Uh, 8.4 on our agenda is review of related party disclosure policies. Again, prepared by our Executive Officer and our Acting General Manager. There is a recommendation on page 27, if anyone would like to move. Councillor Woods.
Thank you. Excuse me. I move that council adopts a revised related party disclosure policy as attached to this report effective 22nd of October, excuse me, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gregson. Any questions or comments? Councillor Woods.
Just a comment, if I may, Acting Mayor. We have been doing a lot of work within our workshops with regards to these being brought to council. So it's time well spent. And I know we've got a couple of workshops coming up in the next month that are going to be heavily, I will rely heavily on this sort of information for us to be able to pass our policies and update them as we go.
Thank you. Very well said. Any further questions or comments? If there are none, I'll move the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, that's unanimous. 8.5 in our agenda is fee exemption and reduction policy prepared by our Director of Planning and Development. There is a recommendation on page 23. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Churchill.
I move that council rescinds the planning and building fees policy and adopts the fee exemption and reduction policy as attached to this report item effective 22nd of October 2024.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Edwards. Anyone like to comment or ask a question or make an observation? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I read through the
Councillor
report for you, and I thought seemed to me to be eminently sensible, as it did give a little more flexibility to the officers and clarity and flexibility for extenuating circumstances and various other reasons, provided they're not bound by the law. And I thought it was a very sensible remake of the policy, or remake of the policy.
Yeah, agreed. Anyone else like to comment? If there's no further comment, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Uh, 8.6 on our agenda is the Landscape Recovery Foundation Annual Report, also prepared by our Director of Planning and Development. There is a recommendation on page 31 if someone would like to move. Councillor Churchill.
I move the council note the annual report presented by the Landscape Recovery Foundation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gregson. Would anyone like to make a comment or ask a question? Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, just to say that, this report has given an idea of what is done by the LRF so far and in that last year. I made a note here for myself, in the second paragraph of the report, page 139, it just says that, let me go to it, no, I haven't got it open. It refers to September. We all know that it's September 2023 because the year we're talking about covers that September. But I think just for a bit of clarity, if we could just put the 2023 behind it, might de-confuse the situation considering we've just passed September 2024.
Absolutely agreed. It's a note for our perhaps the General Manager to put into the report. That's a good thing to be done. Did anyone else have any comments? Councillor McQueen.
Yes, thank you. Just to note that there is currently, I believe, an expression of interest out for new members of the committee. So for community's sake, if people have an interest in that area, they may like to consider expressing interest.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone to go ahead and do that, to get involved, so that would be good. Any other comments, questions? If there's no further comments or questions, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Uh, 8.7 is community small grant section of our agenda, and we have a request from Spring Bay RSL Sub Branch Incorporated. It's been prepared by our Community and Communications Officer, Eliza Hazelwood, and our responsible officer is our Director of Corporate and Community. There is a recommendation on page 34. Councillor Edwards.
I move that council approve the application for community small grant funding of $1,000 to Spring Bay RSL Sub Branch Incorporated as a contribution towards the permanent enclosure of the Tribunal RSL Club barbecue extension.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councillor Woods. Would you like to speak to the recommendation?
Yes,
Councillor Edwards.
I would most certainly would. It's that extension was built a lot by Rotary a number of years ago. It was a great fun for a day or so down there doing it. And I think it's a very well used part of the RSL. It's used by a lot of the community. And I think it is, I wish we could give them more money because it's a fantastic thing used by a lot of people and does a lot of good.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Gregson and then Councillor McLean.
Mayor, just like to congratulate the Spring Bay RSL sub-branch. They do a lot of good insofar as lunch with mates in particular. An astounding success, and without the provision of their property and grounds, it may not even happen. So it's a combination of the Salvation Army, the Anglican Church, and the kind support of the Spring Bay RSL sub-branch. So I'd like to congratulate them and wish them all the best with their extension. So I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor McLean.
I was actually going to make the same sort of comment about the arrangements, so.
Thank you. Yep. That is a worthy cause. Any other comments or questions? If there's not, I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. We've got 8.8 on our agenda is a request for event support for the Coles Bay Triathlon, the 2025 event, prepared by our Community and Communications Officer and overseen by our Director of Corporate and Community. There is a recommendation, I believe, on page 38, if someone would like to move. Councillor Edwards.
I move the council provides to Atlas Events Proprietary Limited, ABN 35650446512 for the Coles Bay Triathlon to be held on the 8th of February 2025. The following event grant funding and support. Cash contribution of $4,000 towards promoting the Coles Bay Triathlon and marketing campaigns and general event costs. And 2, in-kind contribution of council services that are within the usual range of operational works as a resources permit, including A, advertising fees for the road closure of council-owned road, B, application fees for the recreational space green area, C, supply, deliver and collect 12 rubbish bins, red lin and liners for the event.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Woods. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Edwards?
I just say this has been a very well supported, organised and run event for a number of years, and I think it's very much in council's interest to keep supporting events like this.
Any other comments? Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, I totally support what Councillor Edwards is saying there. I guess I'm just a little concerned that this basket of money is running out quite quickly, and this is an unusually large amount that's being allocated to this event compared to other years and compared to other similar events. So I think as long as we're mindful of this and we recognise that if we take that if that 4,000 is agreed to be granted on this occasion, that brings that fund from its original $27,000 back to around $7,000, and we're nowhere near halfway through the year. So my concern is that some other organisations might not get an allocation of funds, and we know that this particular basket of money, please correct me, General Manager, if I'm wrong, but we can't reallocate more to that fund going through the year. My understanding of the 27,000 is the lid on that amount. Is that correct? Or?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes and no. So we've got a set budget.
True occasion.
And whilst that is set, we can review the budget from time to time, and as has occurred with the capital allocations in previous years, where a report is brought and we identify where a budget adjustment might be made to provide additional funds because something else didn't happen that was anticipated, or some other situation where funds were saved, then there is opportunity to do something else. But otherwise, we do set budgets, council adopts those budgets, and we have pretty tight rein around those funding allocations.
Thank you.
Councillor Gregson was next and then Councillor McQueen.
Through the deputy mayor, I'll direct my question to the acting general manager. Why wasn't there any application to this? The application here is with the RSL, but there's no application with regard to this.
Mr. Chairman, I cannot answer that question. I don't know whether the Director of Corporate Community maybe may have a, no, we don't know.
Right, and I'd like to concur with Councillor Churchill that I had reservations with regard to the $4,000, considering if you look at past events, 2024, 1,500 and in-kind support, 2023, 1,500 and in-kind support. So it's gone from 2024, 1,500 and in-kind support to $4,000. I have great reservations, and taking account what you've said, there may be an increase. We've gone from 27,000 to 7,000 if this is granted. So in consideration of that, I'd like to amend the motion and have a cash contribution of $2,000 plus an in-kind support of no more than $1,000.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Okay.
Discussion.
We'll open the amendment up for discussion, councillors, and then we'll move to vote on it. Councillor McQueen.
Yeah, just one question. If I get, is there a reason why it's jumped? It's hard
Well,
without.
I can probably add to that
Right.
if you'd like. I competed in the event last year, and I was also there representing council as the Deputy Mayor at the awards presentation at the end, and I had quite a long talk to the Director of Atlas Company. What they're proposing to do this year is run a 2-day event in Coles Bay, which extends the visitation and the stay and the economic advantages that go with that. They want to make the event more accessible for people who might not necessarily want to do a long triathlon, so they have an advantage to option to do a shorter event. So I think that last year the event wasn't on a particularly secure foundation, financial foundation, and part of the reason for needing a little more money to run the event is for those exact reasons, to extend it out over an extra day and get the economic advantages of that. And it is, I've got to say, it's interesting because it's a company from Queensland that own the event. It's a nationally recognised event. The long form of the triathlon is used by elite athletes to qualify for national teams. It's one of 2 events in Tasmania in the triathlon calendar that allows them to compete and qualify to be selected for a national team. So it's a pretty important event in Tasmania. There's probably a lot of other municipalities that would be more than happy to take this event and give it financial support around Tasmania. I think there's a lot of benefits and advantages that shine onto Glamorgan Spring Bay by having this event. It's certainly not lost on the businesses in Coles Bay. I've made a point of speaking to the pub, 2 supermarkets, the bakery, the cafes, and asked them how they thought the event was for them. They're all very positive about the event. I spoke to some accommodation providers. They were very pleased to have that amount of people in Coles Bay for the weekend. And it wasn't lost on the athletes that council supported the event during the presentation. They all thanked council for supporting the event. So it certainly isn't lost on them, the support we give it.
Yeah, so can I just ask for some clarification? So this year it's going to be 2 days?
That's what they're proposing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Sorry.
I was waiting for you to say.
That's all right, I'll understand the signals of it.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I believe me, I'm not against this sort of event at all. I think it's fantastic, but I still am a little concerned about this considerably higher. I think this is probably higher than any amount we've ever awarded before for under the event budget. I'm not certain of that, but I think it's right up there with the very top of them. But I also guess that one of the things that always rings in my mind a little bit is when these companies are associated with the event as opposed to being entirely community run. I'm making an assumption here, and I don't know whether this is in the information that we're given or not, but I'm making an assumption that this event runs at a profit. So really, if I'm correct, that it does run at a profit, any contribution that we make effectively goes to the bottom line. So I think we just need to be a little bit mindful of how this is done. I'm still very much in support of Councillor Gregson's motion, but I'm still, if I knew this bucket of money wasn't going to run out at more than $11,000 for the rest of the year, I guess I wouldn't even be having this conversation. But I still want to see the money well spent, and I want to see it evenly distributed through other organisations if they require it.
Can I speak on my motion?
Councillor Edwards was had his hand up.
I'd like to speak against Councillor Gregson's motion. I think 350 participants coming into the area, booking out hotels, motels, pubs, spending money in supermarkets, promoted wide and far, everybody happy. The acting general manager said there is an ability to be able to draw more money into the fund, which should allay Councillor Churchill's fear that the pot was going to run dry. I think we should, as officers have recommended, support it. Small businesses in our municipality are struggling badly, and all you've got to do is drive up and down and call in and talk to them, and they are struggling. So the more people we can bring into the area to give them a lift, the more we should be supporting it. Because once they close down, we get no more rates. Simple as that.
Sorry, it's Councillor
Thank
Gregson.
you. That's like, just to comment, this is not a motion that's against Triathlon by any means. It's just a reduction of other people's money into this, into Atlas. If council's donation to Atlas is dependent on the actual triathlon going ahead, it seems to be a rather strange scenario that we have. But I'm very conscious of the $2,000 I thought to be reasonable, and we've got to be really careful of ratepayers' money, especially of people's increasing rates and things like that. They're really scraping as well, so we just can't go and give $4,000 willy-nilly. That's fine. And I just thought halving that would be a cogent way of doing things. That's all. Thank you.
Sorry, yes. Just pointed out to me, Councillor Young, that you were potentially out of the room.
I understand there's a motion.
An amended motion came
So,
forward. My
yes.
apologies.
No, that's all right, not your fault.
I'll
I'm the
read
one
you-
that left.
Councillor Gregson moved an amended motion, and I'll read it to you, that council provides Atlas Events Proprietary Limited, ABN 650-446-512 for the Coles Bay Triathlon to be held on the 8th of February 2025. The following event granted funding and support. 1. Cash contribution of $2,000 towards promoting the Coles Bay Triathlon and marketing campaigns and general event costs. An in-kind contribution of council services that are within the usual range of operational works and resourcing permit, including advertising fees and road closures of council-owned roads, application fees for the recreational space, the green area, and C, supply, delivery and collect 12 rubbish bins, red lids and liners for the event. So it's effectively a cutting in half of the cash contribution.
Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Sorry. Did anyone else have comments they'd like to make on the amended motion? I'll just take the opportunity to address a couple of things that were said in the comments. It was indicated to me by the management of Atlas that the event was break even at Coles Bay for them, and they were considering not doing the event due to that financial break even. Fortunately, Atlas, the Chief Executive Officer of Atlas is a Hobart person who has quite a love for Coles Bay and Tasmania in general. So he's very interested in making sure that event stays in Tassie. With regards to Councillor Gregson's point about willy-nilly spending ratepayers' money, there's an economic payback here and a leverage that goes with it that probably outweighs the small stake that we put in it as a council. It's probably paid back tenfold by the business it generates. So I don't subscribe to that argument. So I won't support the amended motion today. Councillor McQueenie.
Yeah, so it relates to this, but perhaps a bit broader. I think it would be useful if council got a sense of where that spread of funds is at the moment to understand for community too, because it's not just this one, but the other one that's running out quite quickly. And they are small buckets. So where events have been supported, so we don't end up being hostage to unwittingly a lot of money going to one area when we know that there are events coming up in other areas. So it has a relationship to this, but it's not specific to this.
Thanks, Councillor McQueenie. And potentially that is a conversation for another day, I suppose. But I believe this event, and the General Manager might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but we have a set of events that are considered marquee events for the municipality, and I believe this one falls into that category.
Certainly has done in the past.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Any comments or questions? I'll move the motion, the amended motion, if we're in support.
We're voting on the amended motion to see if it becomes the substantive motion.
Okay. So we're voting on the amended motion to see if it's becoming the substantive motion.
Is the motion that's now being moved the one that says 2,000? Yeah, yes, thank you.
And then we'll vote on the substantive motion.
That's correct.
So if you're in support of the amended motion becoming the standard motion, please raise your hand. Those against it becoming the motion would be a lost motion. The original motion.
Discussion on the original motion.
So we'll open the original motion back open for discussion. And if there's no comments or questions, but if there is, we'll have them. If there's not, we'll vote on that motion. Comments or questions?
Just one comment.
Councillor Wood.
When council received this, there would have got a request which we normally do see, but I just want to ask to make sure that that is in our attachments going forward. Any of these, like we've got the information with regards to the previous grant request, can it please be made possible to see that?
Absolutely. Okay. Councillor Gregson.
To the Deputy Mayor and the Acting General Manager, without the application, unlike the Springway RSL, they've got where the funds are going. Basically, not only what the contribution is by council, but by other parties. And it would have been really handy to have this application to see what Atlas are putting in, what the sponsors are putting in. So we'll make a decision here in the dark. So, but I'm not objecting to a contribution, just the amount, but I just like the application so I can make an informed decision. At this present juncture, I'm making a decision based on ill-informed opinion because I don't have the application.
Yes, Councillor Gregson. Yeah, and we've certainly got room for improvement. I think you've said that for a long time in the grant process and thought patterns that go with that. There's no further comments. I'll move the motion. All those in favour? That'd be Councillor Churchill, Councillor Young, Councillor Woods, Councillor Simons, Councillor McQueenie and Councillor Edwards. Those against?
I'm going to abstain.
And Councillor Gregson has abstained. Thanks, Councillor.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, is that not treated as a vote against the motion?
Yes,
And
I believe so. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is number 9, which is notices of motion. I don't believe there are any. No notices of motion. 10 is petitions, and I don't believe there are any petitions. Nope. 11 is any questions on notice by councillors, which seems to be nil. And would councillors at 11.2 have any comments or statements they'd like to make? We'd have 3, and I'll ask Councillor Woods to go
Thank
first.
you, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to comment. We had the Seafarers Memorial on Sunday, and it was a beautiful day. We didn't get blasted by freezing cold or vertical rain, and very well attended. And it was made mention by Councillor Edwards, and I also followed up at the end about Mrs. Kath Ferguson is retiring, or so she says, but you know, it's very hard for her to do so. But I do believe that this attempt she will carry out, and she has been the driving force behind the Tasmanian Seafarers Memorial for some 27 years. And it's a hard one to actually request, but maybe a letter of appreciation from council to her for her unwavering support, her unwavering time, everything that she's put into it over the 27 years that she's been there. She did 1 year, but it wasn't successful, her leaving. but I do believe that this time she means that she's been such a great supporter of the Seafarers Memorial, and it's so greatly appreciated by people around her.
I think a letter would be a great idea.
Yeah.
And she certainly left quite the legacy, so thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Sorry.
Just if I can go,
Yeah.
is there anything that we give ever? Are there tokens or, I don't know what it is you might.
You could have something, wouldn't it?
There
Councillor
is, it's in those policies somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There is but that's to do with employees, councillors. I'm not sure about
Volunteer.
volunteers
Yeah,
and
okay.
that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
because it would probably open up a can of worms. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's certainly not sort of one that would require that.
No,
Yeah.
But I mean, I get what you're saying,
Mm.
a
councillor.
letter would be nice to start with as well.
Yeah.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Have we not got a commitment at 3 o'clock we can't get out of? If that is the case,
3:15.
thank you very much.
Councillor Young, sorry, Councillor Churchill.
I was just going to say that I think we're looking at a person here who is probably very deserving of one of the awards that we do have, for example, Australia Day or something like
Yeah.
that,
Mm.
where
Good
she
point.
could perhaps be approached along those lines if she were prepared to accept such an award. I I think most of the community would be right behind that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councillor McQueen.
Yeah, look, following on from community events, I just want to commend the people who are involved in the entire suite of events for Mental Health Week. Down in this area, I can't speak for the north, if you like, of the municipality. It was literally a week of endless events, and of particular note, another incredible volunteer in the community is Cheryl Wiley. And all the work she did. It spanned from doctors to shooting, pheasant shooting, to gym sessions, to it was extraordinary. An exemplar, in fact, if there's ever any award that a community might be put forward for handling an issue, you know, beyond ourselves, I mean, it would be a sterling example. And from that, there are now going to be ongoing calendar of events in this area, and the like. I know that that's already being discussed with Eliza, so it's just created a platform for all sorts of things.
Thank you. Councillor Gregson.
Through the acting there, I'd like to direct my question possibly to the acting general manager. It's been brought to my attention Sherburne Road, which goes through Devil's Corner Vineyard. Now, I assume that's a public road, but it's brought about my notice that a gate has been locked preceding Watson's cemetery. Is that a legal locking or is it an illegal locking? If it's an illegal locking of a public road, that should be unlocked so people can get access not only to the cemetery but also to the end where there's a reserved right at the end of that road. So could you clarify that or investigate that matter, please?
Chair, I have to take that on notice. I have some recollections. I looked in it before, just wanted to confirm the details before.
And like, a second question, I heard that Greg Mellick, who's the chairman of the Integrity Commission, and he was saying that the Integrity Commission has a primary role in the Edgecliff role to local councillors. And in a previous meeting, it was suggested that a delegate from the Integrity Commission come to the council to address council at a workshop. Has that been continued or investigated, or do we have? It's been done, and what date is it, please?
It was in the past. Through you, Mr. Chair, it's been done previously. There was consideration of bringing them back again to do another session, and certainly there was a little bit of discussion around that. We don't currently have a date booked for them to return and council.
Right.
On our list of things to put onto future workshops.
Thank you. Thank you. And also with the gift register, I've been advised that $50, under $50, don't declare over $50. If you have a gift, not a $50 note, but a gift, how is that valued? Whether it's over $50 or under $50? What's the valuation system?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's a very good question, Councillor. That's a very good question.
Another man's trash.
Indeed, quite right. You know, for one person, something's worth a lot. Well, in fact, the precious gemstone's worth a lot, but to another person, it's just a rock. So,
Mr.
yes, it
Chairman,
is a
perhaps
very
we
good
could hire a valuer in town for several $100s an hour.
Commodity of common
$50
sense
is
and
worth-
councillor discretion.
A
Probably
reasonable
Yeah.
person might consider it.
Anyway, and I'll keep on going. Tribe and Mention, have they approached council to address a workshop? Is this person stage or not?
Mention.
Mention. What did I say?
You said mention.
Oh,
I didn't.
You
You said it quickly,
Councillor
councillor.
Gregson,
thank you.
your question to Mr. Goodall.
Through you, Chair. So we've had some initial discussions with the men shed, and we're in conversation with them. Once we reach a point where we can come to council with some ideas, we'll be coming to council.
Thank you. And
Councillor Gregson, I'm a little mindful of time.
yeah,
We have
I've got
another-
one last one. Make sure they approach council to address council at a workshop. Has that date been fixed?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
And what date?
Last question.
Yeah, that's the last question. Yeah.
Our next council workshop.
Excellent. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Item number 12 on our agenda is confidential items in closed session. In accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, the Mayor is to declare the meeting closed to the public in order to discuss the following matters. Item 1, minutes of closed session. Ordinary council meeting held on the 24th of September 2024 as per the provisions of regulations 15.2a and b of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015. Item 2, personnel matter as per provisions of regulations 15.2a of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation.
I move, Mr Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Young, and have I
Council
seconded?
moves into closed session at 3 p.m.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Woods. All those in favour? Thank you, it's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. And we'll just make sure our recording is off.